millions of people dream of owning a Mercedes-Benz. But for decades, one model made that dream feel closer. Not the S-Class, not the AMG monsters, not the super expensive luxury cars. The Mercedes C200. It was never the fastest Mercedes. It was never the most luxurious. And it was never the most dramatic. Yet somehow, it became one of the most recognizable Mercedes-Benz models in the world. So how did this happen? How did the C200 become the Mercedes that almost everyone knows? This is the story of the Mercedes C200. To understand the C200, we have to go back to the beginning of the C-Class. Before the C-Class existed, Mercedes had the 190 series. Many people called it the baby Benz. It was smaller than traditional Mercedes sedans, but it carried the same serious attitude. It proved that Mercedes could build a compact car without losing its identity. Then, in 1993, Mercedes introduced the first official C-Class, the W202. This was a major moment. For the first time, Mercedes had a car that clearly belonged below the E-Class and the S-Class. It was smaller, more accessible, but still unmistakably Mercedes. And inside that new C-Class family, one name would become especially familiar: C200. The C200 was not created to be extreme. It was created to be balanced. It gave buyers the Mercedes badge, the luxury feeling, the comfort, the solid build quality, but without the price or complexity of the bigger models. And that was the magic, because for many people, the C200 was not just a car. It was a symbol that you had reached a certain level, a symbol of success, a symbol of taste, a symbol of quiet confidence. It did not need to shout. The three-pointed star on the hood already said enough. That is one of the reasons the C200 became so popular. It offered the Mercedes dream in a more realistic form. For business owners, it looked professional. For families, it felt safe and respectable. For young drivers, it was a dream car. And for many people around the world, it became the first Mercedes they could imagine owning. That is powerful, because most car brands sell transportation. Mercedes sells emotion, and the C200 gave that emotion to a much wider audience. Over the years, the C-Class kept evolving. The W202 introduced the name. The W203 made the design more modern. The W204 brought a sharper and more confident look. The W205 made the C-Class feel closer to a smaller S-Class. And the newer generations added more technology, more screens, and more luxury. But through all of those changes, the idea remained the same. A C-Class should feel like a real Mercedes, not a cheap Mercedes, not a fake luxury car. A real Mercedes in a more compact form. And that is why the C200 name stayed so strong. It was never just about horsepower. It was about image, comfort, trust, and the feeling of driving something with history behind it. Of course, the C200 was not perfect. Many owners loved the comfort and prestige, but some also discovered that maintaining a Mercedes could be expensive. Parts could cost more, repairs could cost more, and as the cars became more advanced, they also became more complicated. The C200 may have been more accessible than an S-Class, but it was still a Mercedes, and that meant ownership came with expectations. Still, that never destroyed its popularity, because people were not buying the C200 only with logic. They were buying what it represented. For some people, it was their first luxury car. For others, it was the car they wanted since childhood. For many, it was the car they saw outside offices, hotels, restaurants, and city streets. The C200 became part of everyday luxury. Not rare enough to feel unreachable, but premium enough to feel special. That balance is extremely difficult to achieve. Many brands have tried to create a car like this. A car that feels premium, but not impossible. A car that feels respected, but not excessive. A car that feels successful, but not arrogant. The Mercedes C200 did exactly that. And that is why people remember it. Across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and many other regions, the C200 became one of those cars people instantly recognize. Even people who are not car enthusiasts know what it is. They may not know the engine. They may not know the generation. They may not know the technical details, but they know the feeling. Mercedes C-Class, C200, that name carries weight. And maybe that is the real reason it became so famous. The C200 was never trying to be the biggest Mercedes. It was never trying to be the loudest. It was never trying to be the fastest. It became famous because it made Mercedes-Benz feel closer to ordinary people. It turned luxury into something more realistic. And for millions of people, that made it unforgettable. The Mercedes C200 is not just a car. It is one of the most recognizable symbols of accessible luxury. A car that gave people the feeling of success without needing to be extreme. And that is why everyone knows it. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Auto Origins, because every car has a story. And we will be telling the next one very soon.